Welcome back to the Irish Bandit channel.
And welcome to Prime Time!
I'm sorry, I have no idea where that came from. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I, as always, am your host, the one, the only, the second son of 100... No, that's not it. I'm the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit. I really don't know what's coming over me so far. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to ranking the Nightmare on Elm Street series. We're into part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, you can go check it out right here. Piggies! What is going on? Yikes. Anyway, you can go check out the first part right here, and we're just going to delve right into the top 5. These are my 5 favorite moments of Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Now, we're kind of cheating a little bit here with number 5 because it's not really a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but it kind of is at the same time because it has Freddy Krueger in it, even though someone else gets the majority of the kills in this one. You know which one I'm talking about. I'm talking about when Freddy took on that hockey puck. Oh my God, what is going on? Anyway, it was the Titans of Terror going at it in this 2004 movie. And, you know, as I'll get into this a little more when I get to the entry, but as a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I thought it was good. As a Friday the 13th movie, I thought it failed, but we'll get into that in a second. Coming in at number 5, Freddy vs. Jason. Scene 2, take... I have no idea what's going on. Just get it together, Penny. Get it together. Get it together. Get it together. Come on. Come on. Keep it together. Let's talk about Freddy vs. Jason. Okay, so what did I like about Freddy vs. Jason? To me, there was a lot to like about this movie. I loved that after 20 years, we finally got Freddy Krueger versus Jason Voorhees one-on-one. It didn't happen until about 40 minutes into the movie in the dream world, and then took another 20 minutes after that to get them fighting in real life. But we finally got it, because this has been the question since 1984, when Freddy Krueger made his debut, and I think we're already into Nightmare on Elm Street. No, Friday the 13th Part 3 at this point. Who would win in an all-out monster brawl between Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger? Well, neither one of them really won, per se. I guess if you had to pick a winner, it was Jason Voorhees, considering he lopped off Freddy's head and carried it back to the afterlife. But then at the end of the movie, you see Freddy smile and wink, and made for a really good ending, honestly and truthfully. What else did I like about this movie? Again, Robert Englund. I talked about it in the last video. Robert Englund put so much into this movie and made it so great. He's the reason why this movie was great. I thought Ken Kritzner was a great pick for Jason Voorhees after so many years of having such actors like Kane Hodder, first and foremost. He's probably best known as Jason, even though he was in like 3 of the Friday the 13th movies. We'll talk about that when we get into the Friday the 13th ranked in a little while. Next week, actually. Ted White, the late Ted White, who unfortunately has since passed away. God, who else played Jason? You can look it up, but those are the 2 notable ones that I can think of. Like, other than Ari Lehman, who was young Jason, but I thought Ken did a fantastic job. I thought the cast overall was really good. You had Monica Keena, Jason Ritter, the son of John Ritter, Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child. What's her name? Isabel? I think, yeah, Isabel. Just a great cast overall. What's not to like about this movie? This is the pacing. For me, it was the pacing. I didn't like that much about the movie. It seemed more a Nightmare on Elm Street movie than a combination of the two, because the story was really all about Freddy Krueger trying to get back into the dreams of the children of Elm Street. And he was using Jason to do it, but Jason doesn't know when to stop. So I think that was kind of to its detriment. I think it took too long for Freddy and Jason to go head to head. I don't think they should have been going at it right away. but I don't think it should have taken as long as it did for them to come to blows at the first time in Jason's Nightmare. Other than that, I thought this was a really well done movie. Ronnie Yu did a fantastic job directing, a great script, and it was just a fun movie overall. Now, a lot of people rank this next one low on the list, on their lists. I thought it was a well thought out concept and just a well done movie overall. What would happen if Freddy brought new life into the world? That's a good question. Coming in at number 4, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Action in 5, 4, 3, 2,
Wonder.
What is going on here? Come on, Bandit, keep it together. Keep it together. Okay, gotta talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Let's just keep going, okay? Okay. What did I like about Nightmare on Elm Street 5? The story overall. I loved the concept of this. It was so well thought out about Freddy Krueger invading the dreams of Alice Turner's unborn child. I thought that was just great. It was great having Alice back. Seeing where she started in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and then going all the way up to where she was in Dream Child was just great to see her evolution. This kind of ties into, this also kind of ties into something I didn't like about the movie. This is just a basic nitpick, really, is how do Alice's other friends not know about the legend of Freddy Krueger? Honestly and truthfully, it's one of the things that kind of baffles me watching these movies, because you get these characters returning, and then these other ones have no idea who the hell Freddy Krueger is. And they're like, oh, who's Freddy Krueger? And you don't know about Freddy Krueger? Have you lived in Springwood like all your life? Another thing I really did not like about this movie was Yvonne. She is one of the most annoying characters that I've ever seen. Just all the time. Always doubting Alice. Always just being a stick in the mud. She's that one character who you wish Freddy would just kill off, but he doesn't, because she survives at the end. Going back to something I liked about this movie were the imaginative kills in this movie, because Freddy was still pretty lethal at this point. Like, I think my favorite one has to be Dan's Need for Speed. That was such a great, well done effect and just worked so well. And, you know, hopping back over the fence to things I didn't like, this is really where Freddy became uber jokey Looney Tunes, because you had like Freddy didn't die. Freddy kills someone in like comic book fashion, you know.
It's Super Freddy.
Oh God. In the words of James A. Janice, I reference him quite a bit. Oh, Super Freddy sucks. He does. Super Freddy did suck, honestly and truthfully. Yeah, that wasn't even a bloody kill. He just turned Mark into a piece of paper, slashed the paper, and ooh, all the colors are gone. But those are my only real complaints about the movie. Honestly and truthfully, I thought Nightmare on Elm Street 5 was so well done, well thought out, a great story, and just a great time. It's just kind of one of those turn your brain off moments and just try to enjoy it. And I did. I thought it was a good movie. Okay, we are into the 3 Nightmare on Elm Street movies that I absolutely adore over everything else. Coming in at number 3, this movie came out in 1994, just a few years after the final Nightmare, because we all knew it wouldn't be. This was also the return of Wes Craven to the franchise, who had not directed a Nightmare on Elm Street movie since the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and hadn't written a Nightmare on Elm Street script until Nightmare on Elm Street 3. You notice I haven't talked about any of those other movies yet. We'll get to them in a little bit. So anyway, this was just a fantastic movie that was meta before meta was cool. Coming in at number 3, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. New Nightmare was such... New Nightmare was such a breath of fresh air for the franchise after Freddy's dead. It just made Freddy scary again. And like I said in the intro, it was meta before meta was a thing, because there was so many callbacks and in-jokes, if you want to call them that. This wasn't Nancy Thompson. This was Heather Langenkamp. You had cameos from Robert Englund out of the makeup. You had cameos from Wes Craven himself as himself. You had cameos from Bob Shea, who's head of New Line at the time, Sarah Risher. It was just so well done, so well thought out, well written. I do not have a bad thing to say about this or any of the three movies in the top three. New Nightmare was just a visual feast. If I had to, there's one thing that bugs me about New Nightmare, and it's coming at the climax of the movie. When Heather is coming out of the giant Freddy face in the Nether Realm, whatever you want to call it, it looks so horribly CG'd. But that is my only complaint about this movie. I love the chemistry between Heather and Miko Hughes, who's playing her son Dylan. I love the chemistry between Heather and John Saxon, the late John Saxon, in this movie as well, because we saw them in Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 as Donald and Nancy Thompson, father and daughter. We get to see them as friends in this one. I love the relationship between Chase and Heather, her husband in the movie. That's not her husband in real life, but I don't even think she has a son named Dylan, but whatever. Just everything going along with Heather Langenkamp. See, I'm getting confusing the characters. But I love how well made this was. I love the writing. I love the acting. I loved that they kind of pulled the curtain back in a ways, because in the opening of the movie, when Heather is doing the interview, and you see Robert Englund come out in full Freddy regalia, he's like, the jokester, the hammy guy, and the yuckster, things like that. And then you can see just this whole metaphor with Robert as Freddy, waving his arms in the air and being the shadow in front of Heather Langenkamp. What a beautiful metaphor that was, because it always felt like Heather Langenkamp was in the shadow of Freddy Krueger. I'm not going to say Robert Englund, because Robert Englund is too humble of a guy to be like that, and I don't think he would want that. But for Heather to be in the shadow of Freddy Krueger, that is something different, and I love metaphors like that. Again, the relationship between Heather and Dylan was just genuine, and you could feel it off screen. Coming off the screen, I should say. Miko Hughes is even at a young age, he was already a legend at this point, because he was already in Pet Sematary. And I think he was also, before New Nightmare, he was in Kindergarten Cop. But just to have the resume he already did at 6 years old, Miko was just a hell of a kid actor, and one of the few that did not fall into that typical kid actor trap. But we're getting off topic here. So I love A New Nightmare. I thought it was, again, a breath of fresh air to the Nightmare on Elm Street series and brought new life to the series. The one that started off, coming in at number 2, was such a well-made movie for such a little budget as well. They knew how to stretch every dollar to make this just an amazing, amazing I can't even say first outing. I guess I can say first outing because it was the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but it wasn't Wes Craven's first go-around. He directed other movies like, no, that came later, like The Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left. But he really found his stride with A Nightmare on Elm Street. Coming in at number 2, the original from 1984, Nightmare on Elm Street. Man, Nightmare on Elm Street was such a good... God! I'm losing my mind here. What is going on? Okay, calm down. We only have two more to go. 2 more to go. We can get through this. I don't know what's going on, but we can get through this. There's a pit of snakes on. Anyway. Anyway, Nightmare on Elm Street. What can I say about it? What a fantastic movie from beginning to end. It was the very first time we saw Freddy Krueger, and well, let's just get into the things that I loved about this movie, because you had the casting, the atmosphere, Freddy Krueger in his very first outing. Oh God, the story, the script. I just loved everything about the scares. There were legitimate scares in here. I love the fire effect at the end of this movie as well. They were all so well done. It's like I was saying in the intro. You know, they knew how to take a dollar and make it stretch, because they weren't given that much of a budget. But when the returns came back and it made double its budget, I think that's when New Line and Robert Shea went, we might have something here. There were 3 endings filmed to Nightmare on Elm Street. One where the car just drives away, the one where Freddy is driving the car, and the one we ultimately got where Freddy controls the car and then pulls Nancy's mother through the door. It was kind of confusing, and that ending was just, you could tell that was not Ronnie Blakely as being pulled through the door. So, yeah, it was kind of bad. But the rest of the movie was just fantastic. I loved everything about this movie. It's really, for me, what put Robert Englund on the map. I know he was in a bunch of other movies and this movie and the TV series V at that point, but he is and will always be Freddy Krueger thanks to this movie. My all-time favorite movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Now, you notice with all the other ranked videos that I've done, the first movie has always been my favorite, and I love the original Nightmare on Elm Street so immensely. But I love this movie a little bit more than all the others. Coming in at number 1, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Where do I begin about what I love about Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and why it's my number 1 favorite movie in the franchise? Robert Englund is at his best in this movie. We're on that fine line of deadly and one-liners. It was the perfect combination of this. Everything after, from 4 onwards, got a little too much of that hammy side. But I thought this was the perfect balance between jokester and killer. So I really loved that. I loved the cast in this movie. They were so believable, so well done. You could feel their vulnerabilities with every character. I love the return of Nancy Thompson in this movie as well, being that, you could say, the seasoned vet who was helping these kids out. I love Patricia Arquette in this movie as Kristen. I talked about it in the last video. She will always be Kristen. Tuesday Night did a great job, don't get me wrong, but Patricia Arquette will always be Kristen. And, you know, it's one of those things where the Arquette family is just so synonymous, I guess, with horror, with Patricia being in this and her brother David being in the Scream movies. So, which were directed by Wes Craven, but we talked about that already. So, yeah, I can't think of a thing that I didn't like about this movie. I loved it from start to finish. If I had to pick one thing, again, this is a nitpick, but it would be the ending. I thought it was a little too sad for a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but in the end, ultimately, it did work. But it kind of gets me from time to time. But, I mean, it could have stopped with 3, but they kept on going, and I think that might have been what was the downfall of Freddy Krueger. They just kept going. They didn't know when to quit. 3 would have been the perfect time to quit. It's with any franchise. I usually think that if you're going to do sequels, 3 is a good place to stop. But what do I know? We wouldn't have had the Halloween franchise, the Friday the 13th franchise, or the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise if they stopped at 3. Like, I mean, look at The Evil Dead. It stopped at 3. Perfect. But how would you rank the Nightmare on Elm Street series? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd really love to read your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. In the description, you're going to see a link to all the ways you can help support this channel. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and Reddit. You can help support this channel by getting your Irish Bandit merchandise at the Irish Bandit shop on redbubble.com. You can purchase my very first novel, Shade Falling, on Amazon, and now you can buy me a coffee. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, tap the bell and you'll be notified whenever a brand new video goes live. I will be back tomorrow with more Dead by Daylight. It's going to be the final Dead by Daylight playthrough for this season. And we're going to be playing as Freddy Krueger. Might as well keep the Nightmare on Elm Street hype going. And then I'll be back Saturday and Sunday. Well, I'll be back Saturday for sure with another Blair Witch video. But then Sunday and Monday, I will be back ranking the Friday the 13th franchise. There we go. Be sure to join for that. And we'll have more Blair Witch coming in the very, very near future. And then we'll be back with Friday Fantasy. That's it. Next Friday. Don't know what I'm doing next week besides that, but we'll find out. I'll find out soon. I'll figure it out. Until then, talk to you tomorrow.